Hey everyone, this is Mystic Fish, and welcome to episode 5 of our Factorio Steampunk Challenge. Okay, last episode, we laid out our basis for the hexagon train system that we are going to be using on the base, which is exciting. And I think this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to work on our first train station because we are in steampunk, and as we can see, so many things burn coal. One of the first train stations we're going to set up is going to be a coal mining station. But before we get into that, I'm going to take care of a couple things. One is I'm going to run through the resources and top up the mall, make sure the mall is generating the things that we need. We'll do the steel smelting and resource gathering. And then I'm actually going to go in and fill in all of the rails that we just stamped down with a blueprint. I think it's going to be a good rule of thumb for us to every time we stamp down a hexagon to actually go fill it out completely in terms of rails. So we're going to do this at 10 times speed, I think. So stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly. Hey there, everyone. We are back. As you can see, we have laid out the hex for our initial station, and now we can talk about our original base and cell, and now we can talk about where to put the next hex, because we want to capture some coal. So one option would be to put it over here. That does capture some coal, but it does run into this lake business up here. So, and we don't have landfills at the moment. So, and I'm not sure we're going to allow landfill in our steampunk adventure. So, this is another alternative. This will allow us to capture this coal and maybe part of this coal as well. So I think we're going to plunk that down there. So that covers that, and now we will go back into up-tempo, lay things down by hand, Mystic Fish mode, and we will go put all those tracks and signals down around there, and probably take another run through the resources. So sit tight, and we'll be back again shortly. Okay, we are back. Okay, that is a fine lot of quick running around and laying out rails, which fortunately we got through hopefully quickly enough for you all. Now, I think it's time to go set up some mining. So let's get some burner inserters. We'll need those, and let's get some burner miners. Whoa, that's not very many of those. What are we short on here? We need more stone over here. So let's grab some stone. Put some stone in here. And in the meantime, I think, can I make some? I could make some if I had some stone furnaces. 12, I think we're gonna need more. So let's see, let's get half of that, and then, wow, that can make a bunch. Okay. All right, so let's talk about how we're actually going to extract the coal. And so I think this is going to be an interesting little design here. So let's come down to the coal patch that we want to get at. All right, so one obvious way of setting up coal miners would be to set up two miners like this that feed into one another. So one of the properties we want is we want these miners to continue running as long as they're sitting on coal. So we don't want to have to come back here to jumpstart this at all. Okay, so if we're going to collect this stuff, we probably want to collect it maybe into a box, maybe directly into a train. I guess we'll figure that in a minute. But it's clear that we're going to need a burner miner grabbing something out of here. Okay. And so let's see what happens here. If we let this run for a little while, we can see that the coal is decreasing faster than we can mine it. And how much is in here? This might keep running, but it may also run into a hitch here because we do not have any coal in here, and it is out. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we don't want this pausing like this. And so here's one of the issues. So if we take a look at this, we can see that a burner inserter has a rotation speed of 216 degrees per second. So let's get our calculator out. So, so if we say, so what portion of a circle is that? That is 0.6. So basically 0.6 swings per second is what we're doing here. And so let's get the rate calculator. So if we look at these two together, if we do per second, are actually generating only 0.42 coal per second together. And so essentially they can't keep this burner inserter busy. We can see it's waiting for source items, and this miner is pausing sometimes, so it's these two, their throughput is actually even lower. So this one has plenty of coal because this one is actually mining directly into it, and so this one's building up coal, but it's only when this one's mining that it's putting in here, and one miner by itself is only generating 0.2 or so net coal. So this is really only swinging about a third of the time. And so I think to make this work, we are going to need 3 sets of these as a result. So let's see if we can make this work. Let's get these spun up. Conveniently we have some coal collecting. Let's see, let's get, so here, let's take this one out just for a second. So the trick with the inserters is that they will not insert coal if there's at least 5 coal into the destination. So what that means is we can put, for example, a burner inserter here and it will feed itself, but then it should not swing because this already has more than 5 in it. And then when the same thing should happen here. And it's only once we start pulling out of here that we will start to get coal being pulled out. So now we see that this is swinging full speed. and we can see that the coal in here is staying around that 5 coal mark. So now we have enough that we're keeping it up to date. And we can see that this one back here doesn't swing very often at all, because it won't swing until this drops down to the sort of 4 or 5 area. This one only swings some of the time, which is needed to fill this up, because remember, this one's being filled by both this miner here, and essentially this miner plus this burner inserter, and then this miner plus these 2 burner inserters. So I think this will work out pretty well for us. Now, as far as laying this out for a train, I think we actually want to put this in a place where we can get sort of as many train cars across as we can. So let's see if we can do that. So let's start it here. Maybe here, maybe even here. Let's start it here. And then let's get, I guess we only need, if we let these run for a while, they'll fill themselves up. Okay, so how many of these can we get across here? So if I get 3 sets across like this, this will take up, so this is 12 tiles across here, because it's 6 miners times 2. And so that is just shy of 2 cargo wagons, especially if we include the, which are 12 tiles themselves, plus the spacing between them and the space between them and the next pair. So I think this lets us do 2 adjacent train cars if we set this up this way. So let's get this going. We'll put in the inserters in a minute. Okay, and then, so that's 12. We had 2 spots. So I think if we leave a gap of 2, and then do it again. Whoops, I'm not putting spacing these out right. We can get another 2 train cars this way. And then looks like we can get maybe even another set, at least some of another set. 1, 2. So we can at least get 1 more, maybe 1.5 more train cars. Let's see, let's get rid of some of these trees so we can see what we're doing here. There we go. Let's see if we can get 1 more in here. Get rid of this tree. All right, does that fit there? No, it doesn't. Okay, so we can really just do 1 more set there, and because that's going to go slower than the other ones, I think let's take this one out, and so we'll just stick with what we've got. Okay, so let's get before we put the inserters in, let's get these all topped up so they can build themselves up to that sort of at least 5 coal each before we start running the inserters. Okay, so now we know that we're going to feed these out of here, and we're going to want iron chests, and then can we put, yes, okay, so the rails can go right here. We can pull the train up and have the train get inserted to from these chests. Okay, so let's draw these across. Now, if you remember, our trains are 11 cars long, including the locomotive, and we do want to refuel the locomotive as well. So we basically can cover 4 cars this way, and so, but we have 11 total cars. So I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make 3 stops where the train pulls through periodically and loads sort of different cars in succession. So let's see if we can figure out how to do that. So if we're going to have 3, we're going to need some more train stops. Let's see, I only want to chop as much of this as I have to. Okay. These trees are in the way. Okay, now I can draw the rest of my rails. All right, so let's see, where do we want the first one of the stations? So one of the stations could be here. Could be here. Maybe if we scooch it up, that'll cover us. Oh, that's better. All right, so that covers 4 there. So that could be, we'll cover the first 4 trains. And then we need a gap of 4 trains between the next station and this one. So like that. And then I guess we can just do 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't see the station under here, so let's chop these trees out of here. Okay, now I can see a little better. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Did that line up right? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines up there. Okay. So like that. That's where we want it. Okay, so I think this makes for... okay, so this is interesting. Oh, right, we put 1 inserter in, see, and a drain to this guy. So that's no good, so let's take you off. And how can we solve this? We can actually just solve this by filling you all the rest of the way up. Okay, so what is this going to look like? So that's in the that one is in the right place. I think if we put this one here, here, let's start filling in all of our burner inserters. So I think we can do these, and these, because these are all full, so that won't drain anything. And then we can start collecting in the boxes here. And I think we can have this one go here, and this one go here, and we can split this one across these 2 cars. Okay, I think that works. Okay, and then we can do something similar over here. Let's see, I guess we want to do these back to front again. Alright, start filling boxes. You go directly in, you go directly in, and then you will split. Okay. Alright, now let's talk about how are we going to get into here. Let's see, we're going to need a little bit of runway here, so that, because when the front of the train pulls into this stop, the rest of it's going to hang off into the back somewhere. So I think what we want to do is give a little turnaround here. And how far back does that go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so it's not quite enough. Okay, does that fit? Okay, the train fits if we do this. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about the exit here. So here's a convenient exit. So that seems to make sense as a place to try to get out of here. Looks like we're gonna have to get rid of some trees. Out of my way, tree. So we want to bend down this way. Sure, and then we want to bend. Whoops, we're out of rails. Can I make some? Not very many. All right, we got our. We're gonna turbo boost back to the mall real quick and get some more rails. Okay, we are back. So let's see if we can get this exit working right. That's too close. That works right. Okay, so now the question is, where do we want to signal this? That actually looks okay, because I think we can just put one here. Let's see if that works. Where did that go? So the trick is, if we put, that should make, this is now a single block between here. So one train can either be parked here along this straightaway, or it can be parked here with its butt hanging sort of back into here. So let's just make sure that that extends the same length both ways. Okay, it does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, this is not in the right place. It needs to be back a little bit more. I can't, oh, because the signal can't be on the curve, that's why. Okay, so we can put it back here instead. And then I think if we hover over this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that I think allows the train to come in and exit. And so then where do we want this this guy to enter? I think we'll eventually want a stacker in here. I think for right now, what we want to do is we want to come as far over this way as we can. We'll get the... We're not going to set up a stacker now because we actually only have one train, so there's nobody available to stack even if we wanted to. But we can plan ahead a little bit. And so I think that just means that we want to curve around on the other side here. Okay. So how long does this have to be? So we also want a train signal needs to come back up to here. So we want all of the stations to just basically be one long block. So let's go ahead and get a station in here, or a signal in there. We'll see if we need that or not. And then from here, let's see, let's draw the rest of the rails in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's not enough. Although this isn't really the stacker. Yeah, okay, so as long as you come back to, say, here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so this will work back to here. So that means the stacker only has to come over this far. Okay, so let's see where the stacker is going to come in on the other side up here. I think we want to be able to start stacking almost right away after entering this straightaway. So I think we can do that like this. Okay, which I believe means that this now has to become... Well, let's see. We'll think about what the signals have to look like for this in a second. And then we want this to bend over this way. And where's the other end of this? So as long as it's even with this other one down here, we can make the stacker we want. Which looks like we want to come up to like here or something. These trees are going to be in the way. Okay, and then from here we're going to bend down, and then we're going to bend into here. Okay, I think there is, because we have this here for exiting the stacker, I think there is actually no need for this signal here, because I think once you exit the stacker, we want you to start going immediately in and loading coal. So let's just build one more in here just so we can see what this looks like and get the signals right. So we'll build one more little lane here, which I think will come down like this. Actually, we can get that a little closer, I think. Yep. Oh, we're out of rails again. Can I make some? I could if I made some steel. All right, so we're gonna go grab some more rails. Just a minute. Okay, we are back. So let's finish building what our stacker is going to look like. So you're going to come over this far, I think, and then bend down to join those. Okay. So I think for this, what we want is, let's see, we do have the exit signal there, so that's okay. And so I think what we want chain signals here. And then we want regular signals down here at this end. Let's see. And yes, the whole train will fit in here, so that's exactly what we want. Okay, so you go there and you go there, and then I think we just need this to become a chain signal. Because if a train came through and stopped here, it'd be hanging into the intersection. So we want it to either, if it's going over here, we want it to be able to clear this one, or we want it to get all the way down to this one. Okay. All right. I think we should try this. Okay, so let's get, how many train stops do we have? Oh, we have the one extra. Okay, great. So I think what we want to do is we'll put one there. All right, we're going to call this one. Now we got to name stuff. All right, so this one is going to become mining of coal, 1 of 3. Okay. Let's copy that. And you are going to be 2 of 3. And then you are going to be 3 of 3. Okay. And then we're going to call you test. Test. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's test this. All right, so we can put this train anywhere. So let's hook it up. Okay, we need to give a little bit of coal to the locomotive, which we can do right here. I'm going to give it 1 stack of coal because we want to see that refueling, and let's give it a schedule. So I want you to go to 1 out of 3 until you've had 2 seconds of inactivity. Then I want you to go to 2 out of 3 until you've had 2 seconds of inactivity. And then I want you to go to 3 out of 3 until you've had 2 seconds of inactivity. And then I want you to go back to test until you have more than 1 fish, which of course it won't, so it'll go back to test and stop. Now, the other thing to speed this up a little bit is I'm going to lock these. I'll lock these down a little bit. So I'm going to turn these train cars into single slot train cars by locking 1 slot to coal, so those can get filled, and locking the rest to fish. So basically they will never get filled unless we have fish lying around, which to date we do not. So we can get these pasted in here real quick, and then I can actually copy and paste from cars by shift right click, shift left click, right? And that copies the filters. All right, so let's paste these in real quick, like so. All right, and let's see if this works. All right, go. All right, so let's see this thing pull around, and we should get the first 4 train cars to start filling up, including the locomotive, which it is, right? We're getting fuel into here. Yes. All right, we're going to speed this up a little bit. I just wanted to see the fuel going in, so it can speed you up. And then we just need this to get up. I'll also try to speed you up a little bit. Whoops, I went the wrong way there. Nah, I should leave well enough alone. maybe I can borrow some coal out of here. All right, so those filled up, and now we should advance to get the next 4 cars, which are all getting filled, so that's good stuff. Let's give it a helping hand just for the purposes of not waiting for stuff. There we go, 49.50, then we count 1 and 2 seconds. And then we should get the last cars in here, which we are. So if we can give you the rest of these, then that should stop, and we should pull through, and we should see this proceed through around the hex and through the stacker and back to our test station. So let's watch that go around. I guess we can see it on the map relatively easily. There it goes. In through the stacker. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be our coal train. There we go. Okay, so we can now have trains go get coal, and that's going to be important because obviously we need to refuel the trains so they can come here to do that. But also, pretty much everything's going to need to be coal powered. So every place that we have manufacturing something is going to need to bring coal with it to power steam engines and burner inserters and stuff like that. So we're going to have lots of trains coming through to pick up coal, which means we're probably going to need several of these stations. So we may need to see if we can figure out how to like squeeze a station in over there somehow. Anyway, I think that's a pretty good success for this episode. So we're going to call that an episode. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And until then, bye.